Hi Greedy 3Ds. One of the questions that I keep getting asked is, do other resins work in the Ultracraft Reflex RS whilst using the pulse release module? So what I thought I'd do is I'm going to take a handful of resins that I've got, and they'll be Sunlu, Jam J, Conjure, anything I can get my hands on here. I'm just going to throw them into the RS. I'm going to turn on the PRM, the pulsing release module, and I'm going to print them using PARP 10 settings. As simple as that. I'm not going to elaborate on that. I'm not going to change that. I just want to make this as simple as I can, just to see A, how the printer gets on using different kinds of resins, B, how it gets on using the pulse release module, and C, just using PARP 10, how it adapts itself to printing with those materials. Now, it'll either work or it'll fail. I've got suspicions that it'll work, but who knows? It's going to be quite interesting. So let's try a load of different kinds of resins, from water washable to ABS to normal, just with a little model, just to see if the printer can do what it says on the tin and 3D print. If you're interested, stay tuned. So of course we're using the blueprint slicer. I'm going to select pulsing release module. I'm going to select PARP 10 and 50 microns. As usual, those are the settings. We're not changing anything else. I'm going to use this Teo model from Gambody. I'm going to reduce it to 50% because I don't want to be using shed loads of resin on this. I just want to do a test really. I'm going to let the one-click slice do its magic with it, and that model now will be used across all variables. Here's the Jam J water washable, ABS-like, and this is the first resin that's going into a freshly cleaned RS. And there we go, there's the PRM bursting into life. It's doing a few tests and then it will get to the printing stage, and once it's done that, we will have a look at the end result. I'm doing nothing else, I'm just going to leave it to it. So print time per model is the same, around about 2.5 hours. I'm just going to get it off the build plate, and I'm going to do the same for every single model. I won't be showing you every single model process, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Get it off the build plate, get it washed. I'm going to clean the actual tank from the RS, pour the resin in. Yes, I know I didn't use a filter. If you want to tell me how wrong I am in the comments, then fill your boots. I'm going to use a little bit of IPA and some soft kitchen roll just to give that a really good clean. And while that's cleaning, I'm cleaning also the model in the Ultracraft Reflex wash station. It's had 4 minutes in some dirty IPA and then another 4 in some clean IPA. And I'm just going to swill it around in a little bit of warm water for about 5 minutes just to loosen those supports. Once that's done, and again, like I say, it's going to be the same process each time, I'm going to take the supports off carefully. It is quite a delicate model, and I know in the past I have broken these models by taking the supports off a bit too vigorously, so I am going to take my time and do it on each individual one. I'll give you a report of what I think about each one at the end. Once that's done, I'm just going to dry it completely with a hairdryer to make sure it's nice and dry, and then I'm going to write on the bottom exactly which resin it is, just so I don't get them mixed up, because they're all going to look the same. And then once that's done, I'm going to cure it and move on to the next one. Again, next it's the ABS-like 3 from Elegoo. In it goes, and the whole process will carry on.
Printers in the room, building dreams from plastic spools, metal and resin style. Watch it printing for a while. Memories and layers tight, creating wonders day and night. Greedy for the next big thing. What amazements will it bring? From the man cave in the UK, watch our videos every day. Classic marvels come to.
So we've printed 10 models using 10 different resins, and what can we pull from this conclusion? Well, we'll look at them in a little bit more detail each as we go forward, but what I can say is that 10 different resins, completely different resins, using the same one setting on the Ultracraft Reflex RS and the pulsing release module, have given us perfect results. I've had 0 failures, I've had no issues at all. I've had a few things that I would have expected. For example, the Sunlu Basic was a little bit brittle and one of the legs snapped off and I had to glue it on. I'm not too surprised about that. You've got to remember, this Teo model is a very small, intricate model, and when you get the supports off, sometimes it breaks. That's the only one I've had that problem with, and that's not a criticism of Sunlu Basic. We all know that Sunlu Basic is a really, really cheap resin. It's the cheapest one here, but does give us excellent results, but can be a little bit brittle. We know that. That's no surprise. Surprises for me on here, my favourites were the water washable from Jam J and also the Sunlu ABS like. Now these are not the most expensive resins on the table, and I'll put a list of all the resin costs here for you now. But they weren't the most expensive ones on the table, but in my opinion have given the best results for a couple of reasons. One, they've cleaned up really, really well in IPA and a little bit of water. Two, the supports came off really, really easy with a little bit of warm water. And three, they just look beautiful. They look really, really nice, and I think that's what it's all about. The Ultracraft Reflex has had a little bit of stick lately because of it using its own ecosystem. It uses its own resin. It's geared towards its own resin, and there's a couple of issues with that. One is its own resin can be quite expensive, although its PAS 10 resin, its new one, is only about £30 a kilogram, which is cheaper than some of these here. Also getting hold of that resin has, according to some users on Facebook and Tinterweb, been difficult to get hold of their resins, which means they're waiting for resin to print. But this goes to prove that the printer does not need its own resins to produce wonderful 3D print after print. Now I've done this in its big brother, the Ultracraft Reflex. It's the first time I've done it to this level in the RS, and I'm not surprised really. I wasn't surprised at all. It's done a brilliant job right the way through. So if you're in any doubt whatsoever that buying an Ultracraft Reflex RS is going to A, tie you to their own ecosystem, or B, leave you in a position where you can't get hold of their resins, it's rubbish, absolute rubbish. All of these will work, and I guarantee I'll be trying more going forward, and I almost 99.9% can guarantee that they'll all work, and they'll all work flawlessly. Now remember as well, I've only tried these on the PARP 10 setting. There's a shed load of settings in that machine that you can try them on, and you may get even finer results. I just don't have time to test all these resins on each one of these settings. I did it on the original when I used the Wargamer resin, and I tried it with every single setting, and what I did find was that every single setting produced, some were slightly better than others, but every single one of them produced a really, really good end result. So there are other settings you could probably try with these, and if this is, say, Sunlu ABS is your go-to resin, it will work, guaranteed. Just try it on a couple of other settings to see if you can get it a little bit more honed. But I guarantee that just using a basic PARP 10 setting will give you a cracking result. I'd be really interested to know what you think about this. I'd be really interested also to know, have you used other resins in the RS or in the original and had success with them, or had failures? And if you have, what's happened? Pop it in the comments down below for everybody to see. If you like what you see today, there's a couple of ways you can support this little channel. Please subscribe to the channel. That's quick, easy and free. If you want to join the Greedy 3D Patreon, you would be more than welcome. It goes from as little as nothing to join to a couple of quid a month, and you'd be more than welcome. And if you want to buy anything, including the RS, and you want to buy it through the affiliate link, please just do so. If you want to, a little bit will kick back to the channel. I've really enjoyed this. It's been a lot of hard work this week, toing and froing and cleaning, and I've probably worn my FEP away quite significantly with all the wiping away, but I think I've achieved something quite significant today to prove that the Ultracraft Reflex RS will print with all of these resins and probably a darn sight more, and give us some fantastic results. See you next time on Greedy 3D.